Right now, you are more connected than any human being in history. You can text someone across the planet in 1 second. You can see a face from 5,000 miles away. You can follow strangers, celebrities, old classmates, and people you will never meet, all from a glowing rectangle in your hand. And somehow, millions of people are lonelier than ever. So here is a question nobody thinks to ask. Were ancient humans lonely? Not medieval peasants, not ancient Romans. We're going much further back than that. Before cities, before agriculture, before money, before private bedrooms, before locked doors. Back to the world your body was actually built for. For roughly 300,000 years, Homo sapiens lived in small groups of hunter-gatherers, maybe 20 people, maybe 40. They moved together, ate together, slept near each other, raised children together, laughed together, and survived together. And the answer changes loneliness. Because loneliness is not the same thing as being alone. You can be alone in a forest and feel completely at peace. And you can stand in the middle of a crowded city, surrounded by thousands of people, and feel like you have disappeared. That is loneliness. It is not the absence of humans. It is the absence of belonging. And for most of human history, belonging was not something you had to search for. It was the basic condition of being alive. Let's start with the obvious fact. Modern life makes easy to forget. For almost all of human history, a person alone was a person in danger, not emotionally. Literally, if you were separated from your group 100,000 years ago, your chances of survival collapsed. You could not hunt large animals alone, protect children alone, treat injuries, remember every edible plant, and defend yourself from predators, all by yourself. A lone human is not especially impressive. We are slower than horses, weaker than apes, and almost useless in the dark compared to big cats. But a group of humans is one of the most powerful survival systems nature ever produced. Together, humans can track animals for miles, remember where water appears after rain, share food, keep fire alive, and pass knowledge from the dead to the living through stories. This is why loneliness hurts. The pain of loneliness is not a modern weakness. It is an ancient alarm system. Your brain evolved to treat social disconnection as a threat, because for most of history, it was one. If your group rejected you, stopped sharing with you, or left you behind, that was not just sad, it could be fatal. Modern science keeps finding the same pattern. In 2015, psychologist Julianne Holt, Lundstad, and her colleagues found that loneliness and social isolation increased the risk of early death. That sounds shocking until you remember what you are. You were not designed for isolated independence. You were designed for life inside a web of other nervous systems. Now think about your morning. You wake up in a private room, check your phone before you speak to anyone, move through crowds of strangers, play a role at work, and come home behind another closed door. Now imagine a morning 50,000 years ago. You wake up because the camp is already awake. Someone is feeding the fire, someone is laughing, a child is crying. Someone hands you food before you fully understand that you are awake. You do not begin the day alone. You begin inside a chorus. Anthropologists who study hunter-gatherer groups like the Jew Fehohanzi, the Hadza, and the Ache describe a level of shared daily life modern people find almost impossible to imagine. Food is shared. Tools are borrowed. Reputation matters because everyone knows everyone. That might sound exhausting, and sometimes it probably was. But it also meant something modern people now try to recreate. You were known, not as a profile, not as a resume, known in the old, inconvenient, undeniable way. In modern life, you can be seen by thousands of people and known by almost no one. In ancient life, you were rarely seen by strangers, but you were known by nearly everyone who mattered. Food may be the clearest example. Today, eating is often private. You eat in your car, at your desk, or alone in front of a screen. But for hunter-gatherers, food was social from the beginning. Hunting was social. Gathering was social. Processing food was social. Eating was social. Sharing was not a moral luxury. It was the operating system of the group. Anthropologist Richard Lee documented how important food sharing was. Among the Jufei-Hohanzi, a successful hunter did not simply keep the animal for himself. Meat moved through the camp according to social rules. This was not just kindness, it was insurance. Some days you find food, some days someone else does. Without banks, refrigerators, salaries, or benefits, your safety net is other people. So generosity becomes survival technology. Modern success often separates people. Ancient success had to return to the circle. And then came the night. In the modern world, night often isolates people. The lights go on, the headphones go in, the screens come out, each person disappears into a private universe of content. But for ancient humans, Night was when the group became most visible to itself. During the day, people tracked, dug, carried, repaired, searched, watched, and moved. Daytime attention was practical. At night, the fire pulled everyone into one circle. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wisner published research on firelight conversations among the Jufe Hohansi. Daytime talk was mostly practical: resources, plans, complaints, economic matters. But at night, people told stories, myths, jokes, adventures, and memories of people far away or long dead. The first theater was not a building. It was a circle of firelight. The first social network was not a screen. It was the human voice moving through darkness. Around the fire, the group did more than relax. It created a shared world. A story told by firelight became a shared joke, a shared fear, a shared ancestor, a shared explanation. That shared imagination is one of the strongest antidotes to loneliness. Because loneliness is not only the feeling that nobody is near you, it is the feeling that nobody shares your world. Ancient people shared worlds intensely. They knew the same rivers, trails, animal signs, dead relatives, songs, and stories. Modern people often live side by side in different mental universes. One person is inside financial anxiety. Another is inside a private grief. Nobody around them can see. We share space, but not always meaning. Ancient groups shared meaning because they had to. Now, this does not mean ancient life was paradise. People fought, got jealous, got sick, went hungry, and died young. But their suffering was rarely as private as ours. If you stopped eating, stopped laughing, or sat too long away from the fire, the group would know. Your pain had witnesses. Then agriculture changed everything. Around 10,000 years ago, humans began settling in larger numbers. Farming created villages, then towns, then cities. You might think more people would mean less loneliness, but that is not how belonging works. Belonging does not come from the number of bodies around you. It comes from repeated, meaningful, reliable contact. In a band of 40 people, reputation is unavoidable. In a city of 40,000, anonymity becomes possible. Anonymity has benefits. You can reinvent yourself, but it also has a cost. You can vanish in plain sight. Then, the Industrial Revolution changed it again. Work moved away from home. Clocks replaced seasonal rhythms. Families became smaller. Survival became tied less to kin and neighbors, and more to employers and markets. Your career, your apartment, your goals. The group became optional. And then the internet arrived and performed the final trick. It gave us endless contact without guaranteed belonging. You can be visible without being held, liked without being loved, followed without being known. So we get the strangest contradiction in human history. More communication than ever. Less communion. The point is not that we should abandon civilization and go live in caves. That fantasy lasts until the first tooth infection. The point is that loneliness is not a personal failure. It is a mismatch. Your brain was shaped for a village-sized social world, but you live in a civilization of strangers. Your body expects shared meals, shared stories, and people who notice when you disappear. Instead, it often gets private rooms, scheduled friendship, screens, and the vague instruction to be more independent. No wonder it hurts. What is missing is not simply company. It is embeddedness. The feeling that your life is braided into other lives in ordinary ways. Someone expects you. Someone notices when you are absent. Someone remembers you're dead. Someone needs your skill. Someone can sit with you without turning the moment into content. That is the ancient thing. Not perfect happiness. Not perfect community. Just the deep animal relief of not having to prove that you belong. So were ancient humans lonely? Sometimes, probably. But loneliness had fewer places to hide. Their lives were built in circles, around fires, around food, around children, around stories. Around the simple, terrifying fact that nobody survived alone. And every time you sit across from another person without a screen between you, every time you share a meal, every time you tell the truth in a room where someone can actually hear your voice, you are not doing something small. You are returning to the oldest human technology there is. The group, not the crowd, not the audience, not the followers. The group, the people close enough to know when your fire is going out, and close enough to help you keep it alive.